Oh shit. All right, guys. Sorry about that. I got on the roll again. Man, I'm used to using that mic up there and not this one. I've got to get it in my brain. Hey, all right. I guess we just kind of rewind it, right? And yeah, I'm gonna have to edit that fucking first part out, huh? Shit. Yeah, it's twice I've done that. I'm gonna have to, like I said, I've got to retrain myself, retrain my brain. Hey, thanks there, gang of four and a Navy and Nikki. Ah, shit. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Yeah. Damn it. I can't even get my caps right tonight. Yeah, it's been one of those, well, months. Okay. Hey, all right. Anyway, so as these are the Trump assassination files, talking about the political assassination of Donald J. Trump. It's not about Donald J. Trump. He can only be in for so many years. It's about the movement and all the people that have followed Donald Trump and the political, what do you want to call it? Independent political movement that is like with Trump. Remember, the people that are with Trump were pretty much the Tea Party people. Okay. Um, you have to remember that. And this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep the two-party system, the Republicans on one side, the Democrats on the other, and everybody else gets excluded. This is why they Bernie Sanders and the commies and the Marxists all suck up in with the other Democrats. This is what they run this. If you don't vote Republican, you're just going to let the Democrats win. Well, maybe that's what really needs to happen. The Democrats need to win and really fuck things up so bad that we end up in a shooting war between ourselves, not between Russia and Ukraine and Europe and the United States, which they've already baked that shit into the cake. I'm sorry. I wish it wasn't true, but they've already pushed that to the breaking point. So let's get over here, get some news information going here. Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe if you can. If you can't, I more than understand. Let's see. What do we got going on here? Um, the uh, the grand jury in Georgia. The woman grand juror came out as this flaming liberal that essentially wanted to swear in Donald Trump and put his hand on the Bible and look him in the eye. And, it's like, and she was giggling and had this kind of giddy thing going on. So it was like she was having this like wet, she was getting wet talking about, bringing Trump into the grand jury. I mean, we have to understand that the people in many of these grand juries and stuff, they are highly partisan. They're really not a whole lot of difference than the stacked juries that we saw against Roger Stone in the in Washington D.C. and stacked the other way when it comes to Hillary Clinton and her men and women and whatever lying through their teeth, like Michael Sussman did, like Igor Danchenko. Man, it's really sad shit. It is really some sad, stupid shit, man. I'm telling you. What else we got going on here? Oh gosh. The January 6th video clips are coming out. And Tucker Carlson has had a team of people that have been going in, and there is one monitor that they have to look at the video. Um, and I don't know how many hours a day they are allowed to sit there. I don't know what kind of search methods and camera locations that and camera numbers so they can download or find specific camera footage within the 41,000 hours that Tucker Carlson and his team have access to. Now, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, they're like, oh my God, you gave all that to Tucker Carlson. You didn't give any of it to us. So now the other pieces of the lamestream media. Listen, Robert Murdoch is a douche. Most of Fox News is just a fucking douche. That's the worst part of it, is that there is no good guy in the mainstream media. Okay, there's no good media. If you look at Fox News, sorry, but they are part of the con. Robert Murdoch testified in the Dominion voting machine scandal shit. Okay. He said that, oh, yeah, they believed it. I didn't. But the reporters and stuff, the ones that pitched it on air, he said they believed it and they fell for it, so to speak. Now there's also emails and video and audio that's come out that Tucker Carlson and some of the other hosts are kind of cutting up among themselves about all of this, whether they believe it or don't believe it, or whether it's factual or, whatever. Who fucking knows? But the truth is that Tucker has access to these video clips. And we have to understand the video clips that have essentially been released to the public in some form or another have all been done so, to my knowledge, as far as I know, they have all been done at the behest of the prosecution team. There has been a few, I think, that have been released that the defense has requested. But most of this stuff is stuff that has been cherry picked by by prosecutors to screw the people on that have been charged with crimes on January the 6th. Okay. Now, it won't be too long. The judge that's in charge of this, the chief judge, Barry, what's her name? Barry? Is that let's see. Bump. So this judge has put in a unique set of rules that apply only to those ensnared in the January 6th crime wave. Let's just call it that, okay? And who do not believe Joe Biden is the legitimately elected president of the United States of America. I don't believe Joe is. I had a whistleblower come to me, and he told me about ballots for the runoff election. So if all the kind of weird irregularities that we saw in the 2020 election, and then the Georgia runoff election, and all of that was transpiring around what was going on in Georgia, plus the ballot harvesting that went on in Georgia, would make perfect sense to create copies of ballots. You can just steal a ballot, you can re-engineer it, you can print that fucking thing out, and as long as you have all of the information from the voter registration that is in the database, you can essentially forge any mail-in ballot that is there today. And as far as forging a signature on the outside, remember that's all auto fed. As long as it has, as long as it has a signature that matches on the ballot. Now, you have to ask yourself, do these Dominion machines, right? When they get the mail in ballot in and they scan it to see if the signature matches to what is on file for that address. Okay. The question is, and this is the thing I always wondered, is that name flagged in the computer for the number of vote or for the vote that it was cast right there? And then every time one is checked to see if it is another ballot or a duplicate ballot, you don't know. I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't know that answer. I would think that you would have some kind of numbering system that would be either embossed or printed on the ballots, so they could be collaborated and counted through the system to know that they were not counted multiple times. We know in the Maricopa County election, oh man, I'm telling you, Maricopa County's going wild. The Arizona governor's race and the digging afterwards and checking, oh my God, checking all the um donations, and I don't know what all happened, but there was a big investigation in Arizona about the drug cartels, the Sinaloa cartel. Anyway, so the cartel in Mexican cartel had been allegedly, pumping money into Democrat campaigns in Arizona to affect the elections and to effectively install drug lord supported candidates into office. Well, Katie Hobbs, her name is on that list of people who essentially received political donations from Mexican drug cartels, along with Kirsten Sinema and a whole bunch of other people. And it's alleged that Katie Hobbs and her husband had participated in a fake mortgage deal that included a deed, that included the mortgage, and that, that's how the payoffs happened. Is that allegedly, Katie Hobbs so and so sold a property, and the Mexican drug cartels allegedly bought this fake property. It's like a non-functional real estate token, But, if you think about it, if you can get away with it, it's the perfect way to essentially launder money, is to have one particular piece of property and then just continually sell it and put it into other people's names. It's sheer crazy. So this judge, I think her last name is Howell, Beryl Howell, chief judge of the district court in Washington, D.C. Okay. She oversaw the Mueller investigation as kind of she managed the grand jury proceedings. Well, how is it that the grand jury never knew or never asked anything or about the Hillary Clinton and Christopher Steele and Jake Sullivan, the current national security asshole? He's not an advisor. He's just a fucking asshole. He should be in prison. Should Victoria Nuland, half of the Democrats that have been associated with Ukraine, the sons and daughters of numerous American politicians. So one of the things that happened was that Judge Howell wanted desperately to get her greedy, grubby little hands on a congressman from Pennsylvania, Scott Perry, to get on his phone, to get his phone, make a copy of it, and then basically put it into the Democrat leak machine. Okay. Anyway, so there's this big debate right now. See, and this is where Hal doesn't realize how she's going to fuck Democrats wide open. Hal said that after determination that there was probable cause to believe that evidence of criminal activity would be found on the targeted cell phone because Scott Perry had talked to somebody else on the phone. Okay. Hal wielded her power to prove herself right, as under her purview of investigating potential federal criminal law violations stemming from efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Hal said that Perry used his phone to communicate with individuals allegedly engaged in efforts over critical time periods at issue in the investigation. Just a sliver of, I mean, this is a 51-page motion that was put together by this fucking liberal judge, this nut job, trying to get this more information. Okay. Now, there are, following a private review in October of the records that Perry sought to protect that were on his phone, Hal determined that only a handful met the quote unquote clauses standards. When if you were the DNC going up, with with Michael Sussman and Igor Danchenko and Fusion GPS and Perkins Coy and Mark Elias, all fucking traitorous, scum-sucking bastards who need to be waterboarded and then brought back to life. Well, maybe brought back to life, okay? But anyway, there were allegedly, 2,055 records, including correspondence materials exchanged between other House members and executive branch officials that Hal concluded were fair game and could be brought in. Perry believes that that under the speech and debate clause, these are essentially shielded documents. All I know is this is an activist judge on a witch hunt, and that's all these people are worried about. They do not concern themselves. They do not worry that in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years, that Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, the fucking Democrats are going to be held to the exact same standard that Hal is using today. Now, a 3-judge appellate court heard arguments last week about this case. Okay. At least 2 of the 3 judges were skeptical of Hal and the Justice Department's thinking. Why would an individual member's fact finding be covered? Is the question that was asked Justice Department lawyer. Listen, it's going to be a few months before they even rule. And then it still may be, have to go, what is that, en banc to the whole thing. And then if the government loses there again, they'll go to the Supreme Court, which is just plain fucking worthless in the most cases. If you haven't heard, earlier this week or today or yesterday, the U.S. Supreme Court uh, refused to hear cases involving surveillance of Americans because of quote unquote national security grounds. Look, this fucking deep state cabal, for them to stay in power, that's their ticket. That's their plan. That's what they're trying to do. Okay. And they're going to use government to do it the same way they use government to attack Donald Trump and essentially try to erase his presidency. All these motherfuckers should be in jail. There was no serious investigation into the insurance policy group that worked to target Donald Trump and his campaign. There has been no investigation into what was termed as called the Sensitive Matters Team. These people have worked against the President of the United States of America in a conspiratorial fashion in an attempt to take down Donald Trump. It is the new fucking world order. Anyway, so we have to understand that elements of the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the Department of Justice, elements of the Obama White House, all conspired together to impugn the Trump presidency. This is high fucking treason. That's why I call him Traitor 44, because he really is a traitor to America and American democracy, or I should say, our type of constitutional republic, which is referred to as a democracy. Okay. A lot of people may not think about that. Oh, God. So, yeah. Oh, man, I'm telling you. Anyway, so Hal's term as 7-year term as chief judge enters its last month here in February, and that her ass is going out the door. In that her post, she presided over all grand jury matters in Washington. And if you really want to look at somebody who is responsible for the ongoing conspiracy against Trump and the use of government to attack political candidates and movements within the American population, within our society. COINTELPRO, counterintelligence, political operations. We have to understand that the Mockingbird media, back when it was exposed in the church committee hearings, it never went away. All that did was it brought it out into the open. And what that did was then, because it was in the open, everything went on as business as usual. That's what, many people don't quite understand. That, the media, the bought and paid for journalistic prostitutes. whether it is video, whether it is audio, whether it is written, whether it doesn't matter the format today. These are the cutting edge propagandists of our century. And because they have already used AI to brainwash people on social media, to brainwash people on YouTube and so many other places. Yeah. It's a wonder the American people even have an independent thought. But see, we have to understand that is the credit to the psychology of humans. That while the whole group can fucking agree and one person disagrees, that second person that will disagree about something against the group. Okay, so you got 10 people. First, when you use this, I'm trying to think of the name of the experiment, but basically they use group dynamic pressure to for people to acquiesce to the idea that the group has, even if they hold that to be wrong or opposite or wrong think. Is that wrong think? I'm not sure, in all honesty. All I'm saying is that people have been brainwashed and they don't even realize it. That the idea of the way humanity is today is that we're essentially being led through humanity, by our noses. Hey, Greg, how you doing? That's right. Oh, Greg, hey, you're so right, my friend. God bless you. Ah, yes, adults having a hissy fit over somebody saying fuck. Yes, well, you know, that's the way it is sometimes. Ah. Oh, well, anyway, such is life, isn't it? Remember, life is short. Try to live it the best you can. I'm trying to do, well, I guess, I'm trying to make the last parts of my life really count for something. So, while I'm doing this, I've got some other things that I'm really trying to work on. And hopefully they'll take off. Hopefully I can get it together. I can't say how well it will work, but I know one thing, I'm going to give it the old fucking college try. That's for sure. Yeah. Anyway, so thanks everybody for coming down and checking out. If you haven't heard, Joe Biden has yet to announce whether he's going to run, or maybe he can't remember. He's might run for president next year in 2024. Well, let's see. Kamala Harris has come out and says she's standing by her man. Yeah. She's standing behind Joe, waiting for them to give him the old 25th heave ho, Joe. Get the fuck out of the way so the hoe can take over. Yeah, I'm telling you, listen, after one blow job from Kamala Harris, I can imagine Vladimir Putin will be just putty in her hand. Well, that is her prime political skill, isn't it? But Kamala Harris says she intends to run with Joe Biden again in 2024, sending a pretty strong signal that Joe is seriously considering running. Now, he had a physical. Joe Biden had a physical. That's right, man. I'm telling you. I was laughing because all of the memes that came out about Joe Biden's physical. And I was laughing because some people were saying, they were true. And I was like, nah, I don't think so. I can't see anybody giving Joe Biden, hey, run a mile, Joe, for your stress test. Well, maybe it was on the treadmill and, it was like dog ears, right? That's how Joe Biden got that, right? He ran a mile in dog years, kilometer feet. So first you have to take kilometers, you convert them to 8-1 the dog years, and then you convert it back to feet. And that's how a mile is for Joe Biden. But anyway, so yeah, it's sheer crazy. Oh my God. Yeah, let's see what else we got here going on here. Let's see. Oh my God. Oh, yeah. Now there's a clip out here of Nancy Pelosi's daughter, Alexandra Pelosi, who was at the Capitol on January 6th making movies, making home movies of my mom, before her great retirement. And I'll have to be there for January 6th, maybe, she said. But oh my God. She says, oh my God, this wasn't an insurrection. Is this an insurrection? It's the worst insurrection in history of whatever insurrections, because nobody brought a gun. Nobody tried to hold the ground. No shit. Antifa broke the doors down. They opened them up and they waved a lot of people inside. Most of the people that were in the Capitol building, that's how and why and whatever that they were there. The real fucking criminals, you can see now, this is some of the stuff that's going to come out that they're going to really have a fit about, because all of these Antifa fuckers, once the camera footage is and the locations are more known, and they can track people from where they were in one frame and then back it all the way up to where they came in that frame. Go get the other camera that shows that adjacent view, and then backtrack these fucking people all the way back to their car, all the way back to where they maybe they changed clothes. Maybe they masked themselves. Maybe they met with 5 or 6 other people in one spot, and then all of a sudden they all spread out. But all of a sudden they are all there in the front of the January 6th crowd, creating havoc. We already know that there were undercover police officers that were encouraging people to trespass into the Capitol. Okay, we already know that. We have to understand that this January 6th committee and all the prosecutions and all that stuff coming out of it are all political. We didn't see anything like this when Democrats were rioting, destroying personal property and government property in the summer of 2020, did we? In the George Floyd summer of riots, when, Democrats encouraged it to happen. It's the same shit when Democrats encouraged liberals to go after Supreme Court justices when they found out that they were going to kick the abortion issue back to states' rights where it belongs. Man, I'm telling you, these people are some pretty sick sons of bitches, man. They truly, truly are. Man, let's see what else we find out here. What else we got going on here? Mary Ann Williamson. Remember Mary Ann Williamson? She's kind of a feel-good guru. I believe I'm not sure where she's from, but she is going to New Hampshire and to South Carolina, which is working to be the new first Democrat major primary that's going on. So, Marianne Williamson, remember, she ran for in the primary last time in her 2020 primary debate. So remember that she's getting in. She's getting into the race. Okay. We also had, oh my God, we also had the World Economic Forum candidate. Yes. Yeah. A World Economic Forum candidate for president of the United States of America. Well, remember we talked about and laughed about, Justin Trudeau and how, he essentially was, baby Castro, grew up on the World Economic Forum breast of, of socialism, I guess. But anyway, where did I put that? Where did I put that video or that? I don't see it here. I was pretty sure I saved it over here. Might have put it in a wrong file somewhere. Anyway, this guy Wasarami or something like that is throwing his hat in the ring against Donald Trump and in the Republican Party primary. So, yeah, Vivek Ramaswamy. Okay. He says he will end federally mandated affirmative action. He will repeal Lyndon Johnson's executive order 11246, which mandates race-based quotas. Oh, I bet he's going to love liberals for that. Every Republican since Johnson had the opportunity to do it, I'll do it on day one without apology. Now, yeah. Anyway, so I agree that race-based affirmative action is counterproductive, and it is essentially just racism trying to undo racism. Okay, it's just another form of fucking racism, of preferential treatment. All right, I wholeheartedly agree. I can't disagree. Okay, but here's the thing. This guy is the World Economic Forum candidate. Okay. He's so popular, they scrubbed their website of his name. Okay. That's right. Just to let you know, Vivek G. Ramaswamy was at the World Economic Forum in 2021. And he was a world youth leader or whatever the fuck they want to call him. Yeah, it's sheer crazy. Anyway, so this Ramaswamy guy, man, I'm just telling you, you gotta understand. You don't know if he's in here to literally to race bait Republicans just to damage them against their preferred Democrats. I was reading earlier today, and I believe it is New Mexico. New Mexico is advancing an open primary, which is 100% wrong thing. Okay, it's just plain fucked up. There are no such things as open primaries. The fucking Republican Party, the fucking Democrat Party, it doesn't matter what political party they are. They are a private corporation. They're not public any fucking thing. And to essentially what you're doing then is you're creating a system where the supermajority that already rules will always continue to rule until they are, number one, that the political parties themselves are realized in the eyes of the people that these parties are private, nonprofit corporations that are essentially working to steal your government, working to take the representation that is in Washington and profit from it, to raise money from it, and to direct government in the aspects of socializing people, individuals, whether it's through education, whether it's through finance, whether it's through crime and punishment, take your pick, okay? But this is kind of what they think, government, and this is why the government that governs least governs best. And today, liberals want to know everything, and if something is, they think that you don't line up with what they think, then something is wrong with you and you must be re-educated. I mean, this is basically Democrat dogma. Remember, if you park somebody in front of a television set and that's all they see, that person literally knows nothing. In fact, there's people that may even grow up to think that Fantasy Island was a real place. And if they see an actor walking down the street, that just means that the TV show is absolutely true. And uh, it's all a facade. And that everything we're living in, it's almost a sim world, because everybody is so what's the best word to use? Segregated, simulated segregation, self-segregation in their own brain that has been subconsciously implanted. Democrats hate Republicans, Republicans hate Democrats, and the two should never meet in the middle, and they should never talk in the street except unless they're at a protest and one is screaming at the other. And that's the only kind of good communication that the elite want between people in general. Yeah, most liberals want the same thing as most conservatives. And 90% of it is they don't be left the fuck alone. They want to be able to have their own space to do their own thing and think and the stretches of their own freedom. So, whether it's, the law and order Republican class, or whether it's this kinder, gentler, authoritarian national socialism, that liberals want to push on everybody, because if you think wrong, you should be banned from society. Or if you didn't take a certain shot, you should be banned. You should be fired from work if you don't have certain medical procedures. If you don't fit a certain mold. You shouldn't get, I mean, literally today, and this is one thing that it, it's synonymous to this point. Okay. Today, most corporations turn the average American away. Okay. The average American that's out there looking for a job, trying to get ahead, and they've made several mistakes before in their life in 15, 20, 30 years of, so they might be, 30 years old by now. They might have lost a few jobs. They might have had a little scrape with the law. They might have had some bad girlfriend, or they might have had some bad report on them somewhere along the line. And today, literally, liberals would never give that person a chance. Most of them, or I shouldn't say liberals, I should say corporations, because corporations only want to hire these pristine people that are, they think that once they train them, they're going to be there for years. So, it's the hiring process today isn't like when I was young. Hell, when I was young, um, if you went through 2 interviews, that was like, what the hell is going on here? Or one time I had to appear in front of a panel at the Teamsters Hall, and they wouldn't even let me join the fucking Teamsters union. Well, I had just gotten fired from another company for organizing. Hey, what can I say? You treat employees wrong and you treat people wrong, they get up, they walk away. That's the nature of business. And, so you better treat your employees, and I don't think many liberals or many people understand that we, the people, we're supposed to be serviced by the government employees, and they haven't been doing a very spectacular job lately. In fact, the official administrative class is just pretty fucked up. Okay, they're not doing real well, and if you don't hire the best person for the job, you're always going to lose. Of course, this administration claims it has the biggest diversity of any administration, in the history of the United States. I don't care. It's dysfunctional. You hire dysfunctional people, you put them in a system that is already half-assed, clumsy, to say the best, and it's fucked. Okay. A great example of that is, remember the Anthony Weiner laptop? So they needed a forensic expert to go through the Anthony Weiner laptop. Who did they choose? A new FBI agent guy who was essentially, his eyes were so bad he was legally blind. Now I know, because my eyes aren't quite that bad. But I do carry a burning permit in the woods in the summer. I'm just kidding, right? But yeah, just a lot of political shenanigans going on everywhere that we see today. Inmates in Cook County Jail. If you're not aware, the election for the mayor of Chicago, I believe it was today. And Mayor Lori Lightfoot is looking to get reelected. She's highly unpopular. And of course, crime is when you have a city that big, it's going to be never ending. Can you keep it tamped down? Can you neutralize it? Not very effectively. But you have to also look at the rest of the administration of Chicago and see that, it hasn't been that also hasn't been going very well. Let's see. So it's alleged that the Lightfoot campaign through the jail system is essentially trying to run a ballot harvesting scheme within the Cook County Jail, pressuring inmates to vote. Of course, they're going to be absentee votes. They're just going to run the box down in front of the bars, and people reach out and vote. Oh yeah, no vote left behind. Yeah. Now the question is, were those guys? Did they have voter ID? I'm just asking for a friend. But really, I mean, these are just some of the stupid stuff that we see going on in the world. And speaking of stupid shit going on in the world, right? Stacey Abrams, yes, the Georgia gubernatorial candidate who claimed that the election was stolen. And then when it was proven not, she said, "Oh, I didn't say it was stolen from me. I said it was stolen from all of you, the people of Georgia." I mean, anyway, Stacey Abrams is in fucking Nigeria. Nigeria. Yeah, going over there to see how they run their elections as a international observer. Wow, I really feel bad for Nigeria. I mean, they're going to have to kill, a dozen chickens, 3 cows, and a turkey, just to feed her for 3 or 4 days while she's over there. And, I don't know if Nigeria's gross domestic product can really handle that much food given away, to Stacey Abrams. She was really amazed, and she didn't have much to say, except, boy, they're really enthusiastically voting. Look at the long, long lines. Everybody's here and they're still trying to vote. Hey, I bet they don't shut them fucking polls. Huh, Stacey? Remember when in Georgia, when they said, "Oh, we got to shut the polls"? Yeah. People were still in line and they were like, "Well, too late. Goodbye. Forget it. You could vote for 33 days. What you wait for the last 3 minutes for?" That's pretty much that's pretty much the truth, isn't it? But Stacey Abrams was really amazed because the Nigerians had to show a photo ID to vote. Yeah, imagine that. Oh my God. I went halfway around the world. You can't even find a Starbucks, and they still gotta show an ID to vote. Yeah. It's funny that in all of the comments and everything, the public comments that Stacey Abrams made, she never mentioned that. Yeah. Sheer crazy and stupid and all at once, right? What else we got going on here? Let's see. Well, here's an oldie. The CIA played a key role in the arrest of Nelson Mandela and his subsequent imprisonment in South Africa for years and years, just like they have done essentially Julian Assange. The United States government has literally attacked innocent people who expose let's just say, expose the government corruption. And that's all you really have to do. Yeah, Jack, what's his name? I'm trying to remember. Jackass. No, it's not Jackass. It's that guy that's Trump's special counsel, Jack Smith. Okay. Has taken steps to obtain testimony from the vice president, and Trump's former White House chief of staff, Mark Meadows. Yes, they're trying to investigate Donald Trump, and you know, it's an ongoing political hit job. Okay, that's what I will say. So Jack Smith's office has asked the federal judge to override Trump's assertion of executive privilege to shield former Vice President Mike Pence from testifying before a grand jury. It truly is amazing because, hey, they were getting some of their information from me. Jackass. Maybe I guess I'll have to get their number there and give them a call and tell them to go fucking pound sand. But yeah, and tell them, look, you want to follow some information that what they were looking at, here, do this. But I don't expect them to. I don't expect them to want to talk to me. Because I'm adamant and I'm resolute. I know exactly what happened. I'm pretty sure I've figured out how they've essentially managed, to run hundreds of thousands of ballots, printed fake ass ballots from New York into Pennsylvania. Okay. How about from Arizona to Georgia? All the key states that were targeted. Now, it won't be long. They'll be using private transportation to move these ballots the next election. Because they are being found out, and the ballots themselves are going to have to be not only a higher quality, but they're going to have to be right. Like the paper that they're printed on, that's all going to have to be the same. The envelope that's supposed to be, it's got to be the right weight, it's got to be the right kind, it's got to, none of this half-ass shit that we've essentially been seeing election after election, where once the ballot and the envelope are separated, nobody knows anything about anything. So all of the ballots, the mail-in ballots, and all of the envelopes that they come in, they should be all numbered together. Maybe an A and a B, an A for the mailer and a B for the vote that's supposed to be inside. But all of that, everything is going to have to be documented. And, what I would really like to see on the ballots are holograms, official ballot holograms that are essentially printed across the ballots. Okay. Period. End of story. And the other ballots that are needed, those should be done on a limited basis. This is why people are registered to vote. This is why the system is set up the way it is. And we don't have real verification, voter verification in any mail-in balloting situation. Period. End of story. Okay. It's a crazy thing that we see in our elections and how they're being rigged 3, 4, 5 different ways. And each way is not enough to raise the bar above the level of suspicion that will trigger these full audits that could possibly uncover all of the cheating. like they did in Maricopa County um, the other year. And what they found was essentially 90,000 people that they can't identify, that are ghost people, ghost voters with no state ID, no federal ID, no other cross reference with their address, their name, in the credit bureaus. Listen, if you go through the 3 credit bureaus and through the state databases, and you can't verify that person is a fucking person in real life and not just a name on in a ballot or in a voter registration database. If you can't prove that person physically and actually exists, why isn't that red flagged? The election this time was what, 10,000 votes with Katie Hobbs and Carrie Lake. 80,000, ghost of voters is, well, 8 times what you need to change the vote. It's a bizarro thing that we see when the independent voters that are supposed to be certifying these machines, the ballots, the elections, and all this other stuff, that what we found in Maricopa County was, it wasn't one Democrat, it wasn't one Republican, it was like 2 Democrats, okay, and their buddies, 2 Republicans that hate MAGA, okay. See, and that's the other component of all this, okay. It is the transference of this hate and the framing of white supremacy, the framing of whites, and all of this in the elections, and that Democrats are essentially running a race war against white people in America today. And it's clearly evident in the political arena, but nobody wants to say that Democrats are back to their old ways and they brought back Jim Crow, and we have Jim Crow Jr. on our fucking doorstep. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. Also, now we're having questions about an Intel asset that was involved in the Proud Boys case, where where the government used one of their Intel assets to plant what is considered key evidence in the Proud Boys case. In week 5, the Justice Department's high-profile, high-stakes criminal trial related to the January 6th and 5 members of the Proud Boys face a rare seditious conspiracy charge. Guilty verdicts, almost certain, given that the near perfect quote unquote conviction rate of January 6th defendants. Remember this, okay? These courts in DC are running cases in kangaroo courts that the Soviet show trial system would be proud of. Democrats don't see it that way, and well, I understand that. But remember, this is going to make full circle, because as Democrats cut off the legal avenues available to conservatives, they cut off the legal avenues that are available to to liberals, fucking social Marxist assholes, and everybody else, that the black shirts and the brown shirts that supports them, that support this deep state of government. Yeah, that, you know, Democrats support the hate, they support the censorship. But the thing is, it's they support the hate that they like. Okay. But how dare you insult somebody or hurt their feelings, or indicate you might have Islamophobia, another made up word. I mean, really, you it's just crazy. It is. It's just, liberals today are so mind fucked, they don't even know that their brain is screwed on sideways. Okay. Anyway, what we're going to see, should it happen, the reelection of Donald Trump, which many people have prophesized against, I'm not 100% sure. I support Trump. However, he's going to have to pull his head out of his political ass and get with the anti-government deep state program, instead of hiring people that really represent the worst of our political system. That is the truth that nobody wants to say. Okay. These are the facts. These are the facts that we are here right now today. In New York State, where they believe that they can just do anything they want. Oh, it's a Second Amendment. Oh, yeah. Well, that was shot down by the Supreme Court. And even before I think it was completely fallen down, the New York State legislature doubled down on other, restrictive Second Amendment unconstitutional laws. Okay. Now, what we also now know, that New York's so-called hateful conduct law is just blatantly unconstitutional. Okay. Because of the First Amendment. In a major victory for free speech, the only question is, can you have a platform for that speech? And is speech really free? And if it's not free, how much do you really have to pay for it? Because let's be honest, it used to be, and it was said, and it was absolutely true, that if you didn't pay for a service, for example, you use a browser or a search engine or some other internet program for free, they're bombarding you with advertisements. They're collecting your information. You have become the product, and you are pretty much aware that you are a product in that aspect. Okay. The problem is today, you can pay for fucking something. You can pay $1,000 a month, $500 a year, or whatever. Let's do a car loan, for example. You can pay $2,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month, which is way too much for a car, if you ask me, a month. But they're collecting all the data from your instruments on your car. They're collecting everything they can, and then they're selling that information to marketing agencies and other places. You today, even when you pay for a product, you go in the grocery store. You go in the grocery store and pick up some groceries, right? You got your little cube or your little card, Kroger card or whatever, a food line. You put it in there. You put your little, your information, your data in, and you get a discount. You get the stuff that's on sale, whatever, right? Um, you're paying for the food, and you're still the product of a marketing, data scheme that is essentially probably today almost making as much money as the food is and profit wise on those shelves. You know, that's just the truth of where we live. Oh man, I'm telling you. Mm. Yes. Anyway, so let's see what other big news information we got going on here. um, Project Veritas. Project Veritas. James O'Keefe started small with just a few people, and then grew real quick, exponentially, and formed his basically his nonprofit, Project Veritas, formed the board, and they grew. And after a few years, you got 10, 15, 20 or more employees. You have a board of directors, you have financial officers, you have human resources, you have all these normal business functions of a major corporation. Then what happens? You get just like, you're out. You just get kicked the hell out. That's what they did with Project Veritas. Now, if you're not aware, has gotten control of Project Veritas, and they are going to use Project Veritas as an investigative arm to investigate essentially the media's competition, whoever it may be. It's probably going to be all types of alternative media that are going to be targeted. And gosh, I think about how Project Veritas so easily got people to talk and position themselves and talking to people and getting their ear and shooting the video and the clips of people essentially, yeah, incriminating themselves in, counter narratives that, their employers often say are true. Okay. And this was also political campaigns. Remember, Keith had what do you call that? Infiltrated several political campaigns, and their campaign members were like, "Yeah, we'll just lie to everybody. We'll tell them whatever they want to hear to get somebody to vote for this." There's a Democrat out west somewhere, maybe Arizona, but it was just sheer crazy. Okay, so people essentially today, you can start an organization, and if you don't have some of the right people, or as the project, whatever it is, grows, control is lost. You have to remember there is another thing, another aspect of all of this, okay? That should Project Veritas had not embraced this culture and grew, it would not have the impact that it does and that it did today. So remember that. And also be aware and forewarned that James O'Keefe is still out there doing his doing field reports and working together, and it has a supportive statement from a number of Project Veritas whistleblowers who have essentially said, without James O'Keefe, there is no Project Veritas. And I would 100% agree. James O'Keefe is an entrepreneurial spirit, small businessman. Okay. He will rebuild and he will retool, I am sure. And they have not seen essentially the last of James O'Keefe. And I know that for a fact. And I have faith in that he's got some stuff that he's working on now. That he, and besides, he is essentially suspended. So he can start his own, he can start another project, something, right? So, about truth tellers, or that's the way it is. Nobody does that anymore. And that's the way it is, and because everybody is trying to frame something in a certain light, they don't want to get down to the nitty gritty, dirty truth. Yeah. Paul Ryan says Biden and Trump put the country at risk by swearing off changes to Medicare and Social Security. These programs were to run the load of horse shit that they shovel and they run today. People have to understand that the Social Security Trust Fund was never meant to support Medicaid, Medicare, or Medicare, I guess it is, and all the other poor people programs. Those are, because they've taken so much of this money and they've borrowed it from one place and they throw it over here and they spend it. Yeah. Former Uni Party deep stater Paul Ryan, closet Democrat from Wisconsin, accused Biden and Trump of putting the country at financial risk by swearing off making changes to Medicare and Social Security. Hey, why don't we make some fucking changes or quit sending all the fucking welfare to the world? Or welfare to a bunch of greedy ass Ukrainian Nazi bastards. Or European. Hell, we even send welfare to the Chinese. Did you know that? Is there a country in the world that we don't send welfare to? Not that I'm aware of. Even European countries, even the UK and all these other places, they are getting millions of American dollars. There isn't a country that is essentially not on the US payroll. And that's what it really is. It's that our government has essentially become so corrupt that it is in the business of buying nations around the world like chips on a poker table. I mean, really, it's unfortunate, but that's what we are at today. And this 7 million illegal immigrants that have come in since 2020, since Joe Biden became president in January 20th, 2021, when he was sworn in, the floodgates opened. And now, they're looking, by the end of Joe Biden's administration, they will have essentially doubled what they said the number of illegal immigrants were in America, according to the lame ass Democrat Party. It's all about breaking the economy, breaking the people that have the political power now by essentially destroying their jobs, destroying their livelihood, so they don't have the money to be a political force in America. That's that's the raw truth that's out here. Oh my God. I really don't like to talk about this fucking asshole that I'm going to talk about next. Keith Oberman, right? I mean, Oberman or whatever the hell his name is, right? I mean, this scum sucking communist, this Marxist fascist clown, claims that we need to have an economic civil war to institute gun control in America. Now, how exactly does that work? You bar people that own a gun from working and having a job? I mean, look, Olbermann is, remember, he believed if you didn't take the jibby jab, that thing that they want to stick in you for that other disease, that Rona stuff, right? He essentially said that people need to be banned from society like they were lepers. That's liberalism in a nutshell. Okay? Liberalism, whether they realize it or not, is just modern day colonialism with this Marxist liberal stint mixed in with it. It's kind of like a tint that you put in a base. And we have to remember what the base of the Democrat Party is. And that is essentially three colors of white: K, K, and K. So yeah. So I hope everybody's doing okay. Thanks. 35 trillion in debt. You're right, Gang of Four. They can't handle the truth, because when they get slapped upside the head and said, well, where'd the fucking money go? Marjorie Taylor Greene. God bless her dumb fucking ass, okay? Putting Kevin McCarthy over the top and pumping him and all this other shit. Look, that was just plain fucking stupid. All right? It was stupid because you played right into the hands of the deep state. Oh, man. I'm telling you, it is just crazy out here. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in over here. Wow. Gang of Four and Chris Greenheart. Hey, Chris and Mace. Hey, Bernays Sauce. How you doing there? And Johnny. Hey, Johnny. How you doing? All right. There's Pat. Hey, Pat McGovern. How you doing? Right. Well, I hope. Oh, man, I'm telling you. And Greg. Yeah, Greg Ogback. Yeah. No jabby jib. All right. Anyway, so, we have to keep it real, as you guys say, and it's nuts. It's crazy out here. Patrick McGovern. Hey, how you doing? Dan, everybody over there, George. Hey, George, thank you for joining. Navy and Memes and Nikki and everybody. So thanks for coming down and joining us, because we got to get the truth out. Okay. And, I always wonder about how suppressed the truth really is and how suppressed it really isn't. And the controlled demolition of our society using controlled information. And, I do have this concern about controlled opposition everywhere on the internet, everywhere I've seen it. I've seen, I've gotten telephone calls from people that wanted to quote unquote introduce me, Mitch here, to all the militia leaders in the area, and I'm like, no, that's okay. I get phone calls from people that are just, it's just like bigoted, racist, hate baiting, wanting you to say something in the affirmative of whatever shit that they were talking about to you on the phone or on a message board or, on your answer machine, and that's what I know. I am absolutely 100% sure. And I know and understand how these counterintelligence systems are working against everybody. I guess that's another reason why you got to keep changing up against them. But yeah. And if you know everybody or anybody that want to know where I am, tell them to come over to YouTube and find my YouTube channel, Mitchell Bupp, and just subscribe. I'm going to try to do a live stream every morning for two hours long. Okay. Monday through Friday, same schedule that I am on and was on Revolution Radio in the mornings. Okay. So the evolution of the revolution, it has to happen. And but liberals trying to talk about having a economic civil war over mass shootings, I think the first thing we need to do is to lock down the cities. Keith Olbermann seems to think that it's quote unquote white America, that there is something wrong with white America having this, having this affinity for gunplay, when we know it is not. We know it is in the cities, in the Democrat-held cities, where a minority is responsible for a majority of the shootings and murders in America. Inconvenient fucking truth that people don't want to listen to. They don't want to hear it. Keith Olbermann, right? And here's a great example for you. Where was this? Georgia. Down in good old Georgia, where they just recently had another mass shooting, but you didn't hear about it. Why? Well, the perp is black. Okay. The perps, I should say. The two perps are black. Okay. It's not like, I think, was it 8 people were shot? 6 or 8 or 10 people were shot. Nobody was killed, thankfully. Okay. But there was a 30-some-year-old guy and a 15-year-old kid or 17-year-old kid that opened up on a group of other kids. You got a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that how it went? Or was it 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13? It was this whole range of fucking kids. I think there were 2 that were 13 years old. But it was like one of them was just a really little baby. Now, luckily, none of them died. But Did you hear about that on the national news anywhere? Oh, hell no. Hell no. It's not a white cop on a black person crime. If it's not that, you don't hear about it. Remember, brainwashing. Brainwashing happens literally every day. Okay. Remember back in a couple of years ago, that guy in New York that was selling cigarettes? I think his name was Eric Gardner, if I remember correctly. And Mr. Gardner was selling cigarettes outside of a convenience store, just a single cigarette. Instead of people paying $8, $10, $12, whatever it is for a pack, he'd sell them he'd sell them a cigarette for $2 probably, or something along those lines, right? Anyway, so the store owner asked him to leave. No, I'm not leaving. They called the cops. The cops asked him to leave. He won, and he ended up getting killed in what they call the chokehold. Okay, and this was a black cop that killed the black guy. And all the riots, all of the craziness, all of the idiocracy that came out, over that incident, over George Floyd, over all this different stuff. Okay. You see a narrative driven into the minds of people. Remember, we are living in this time when we're subject to these 5 kind of mainstream psychological narratives. Narratives is a good word, because these psychological tests and experiments, like the Milgram experiment, the Stanford Prison Project, Festinger's, whatever the hell they called it. Okay. They have this, oh God, man, they have all these different tests, right? Or they're just these 5 tests. Okay. And, the Ash experiment, the conformity experiment, is kind of amplified. If you look at the Milgram experiment and the Stanford Prison Project, remember, a quick prefer, the Milgram experiment was where they hooked people up and gave them electric shocks if they said some words out of a wrong sequence. Okay. And they would literally, it wasn't for real, it was all faked, but the person doing the clipping of the electric shocks, they didn't know it wasn't real. And they were allegedly electrocuting people with voltages that would kill them. And they knew it. But as long as the government guy in the back said, it's your job, continue. It's essentially the same thing. One of the aspects you see and people experienced with the dehumanizing treatment people received from the medical system during the COVID years. That, whether you realize it or not, the Milgram experiment, just the shocking of the people, and then the government saying, we got your back. That literally, gave everybody a blind green light. I know that doesn't make much sense, but it blinded them because they essentially had this government, not blank check, a mulligan. Okay. If you go golfing, it's a mulligan where you get a freebie shot. Okay. You have no consequences. So, this person administering these shocks literally would suffer no consequences, just as the medical personnel that have essentially discriminated against entire classes of people did the same thing because the government said, well, it's okay. Okay. All right. The Stanford Prison Project, that was essentially a mock prison. And it just showed how fast the subjects of the prisoner, of the prison, became acclimated to their roles, not only as prisoner, but as guard. Okay. And many people just acquiesced to and accepted their role in these situations. But the power systems that were put in place grew in the wrong direction, and it actually, became literally abusive. And it was like, that five monkeys experiment where, well, it was like that when I got here. So, the new prisoners and it was really an interesting experiment into how humans, given a power structure behind them, can, become benevolent. They can become helpful, but at the same time, they can become so malevolent that you can't stand to even live under them in a prisoner type situation. The Ash experiment, was the one that I was talking about, where they had the 10 people basically on a panel. They brought the new guy in, and everybody on the panel lied. Everybody on the panel lied about what the answer to a question was, whether it was just a simple, most of it was simple question about a geometric figure or a line length or something along those lines. It's something clearly, easily obvious. And everybody chose the wrong answer. And the new guy, which, he wasn't in on the experiment, you know, most of the time, he would succumb to the group psychology of whatever he was told was true. Even if he knew it was wrong, his brain would seek to go with the group. Now, what I mentioned earlier, that what one of the scientific principles that was established in the Ash experiment was that if you have the group of 10 people and you have you know, um, you have the test subject, effectively, everybody that was lying right at one time. Now, one other person, before they get to the test subject who is last, right? Because they want to give him a chance to hear all the answers so he can be affected psychologically by their answers and the group pressure. What they found, what they found was that if just one other person out of that group would say the right or the correct answer, it raised the chance of the person resisting, overcoming, and actually telling the right answer to a question, overcoming that group dynamic. It increased by more than 80%. Okay. So understand, you, me, and everybody else standing up and saying, no, that is not correct. That essentially breaks down the barrier and the doors so other people can, oh gosh, so they won't feel lonely. So they won't feel like they're the only ones being attacked. They're the only ones being stripped down. You know, We have to understand that, this battle on censorship, the battle in the political arena, the battle for full spectrum dominance. And if you have to look that up and understand what that is, and understand that it was implemented, and that the government today has essentially full spectrum dominance, and they want even more power to literally in real time. The government wants the power to actively monitor and then interject into all the conversations on all the social media platforms, government talking points and narratives, and other viewpoints will be censored. What people don't want to say, what they don't want to just boldly admit, is that we already fucking have that. We already have that shit going on in America. Okay. We, the people, are, basically test subjects of a multiple psychological experiments. And then at the same time, we have corporations running game on us. And on our quote unquote elected officials who swear an oath to fucking Israel, even before they swore an oath to the United States in many cases. But our government has essentially completely failed everything that we see and do. It is unfortunate. It's a kind of a sad state of affairs. So as Chris points out, when the revolution evolves back into the same failed state, you have to question, was it a real revolution? Listen, okay, for example, we had a real revolution in 1776 in this country when Americans stood up to the British and said, look, get off our fucking backs, no more. We fought the Revolutionary War. We managed to break free. And then over the next 200 years and continuing through today, the forces that have tried to control the world have always been working to destroy the Constitution and to overthrow the United States of America. This is what they are essentially doing, and that's what they're working on. Now, I think they can succeed because America and the American people are essentially failing. They're failing because our government really doesn't work for the American people, anymore. Let's see. What other news and information we got here? Joe Biden said that he supports safe and secure gain of function research. So, not the kind that makes a bat COVID transmissible to humans. I mean, this is where we got here. Okay. We have to understand that the United States government, through the Pentagon, has been developing biological weapons. They're calling it gain of function research. That's the real truth that nobody wants to say. The Wuhan Institute of Virology, it was a target of the CIA. It was a target for infiltration and to figure out what the Chinese were actually doing inside that lab. That was another reason why the cutout corporation, Echo Health Systems, just like many U.S. aid State Department programs, is essentially just another front cover for an intelligence service to work at their will. We have to understand the U.S. State Department is the CIA. It is not a Department of State that is working and negotiating and working on behalf of Americans. It's working on behalf of the deep state. Oh, wow. In Pennsylvania, there's some stuff for the morning show. Pennsylvania Chick-fil-A bans diners under 16 without adult supervision. Yeah, that's a kind of a good segue over to Pennsylvania. Where is this? Where is this? Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Really, Royers Ford Chick-fil-A, Royers Ford, Pennsylvania, probably a suburb of Philadelphia, I believe. But anyway, then it states they have unruly minors in the store. So if you're under 16, you need to have adult supervision. Is that because you can't behave yourself otherwise? And in that kind of a sad state of affairs? Now, we got about 9 minutes left here, and I wanted to touch on Pennsylvania because of John Fetterman. John Fetterman is checked into Walter Reed Hospital, and it's alleged, I don't know if it's true or not, that he is now a human vegetable and that he doesn't have a functioning brain. And that is another reason why his wife essentially left the United States and took the children and went to Canada on vacation to take the media circus away. Man, I'm not so sure. That doesn't walk with me. Okay. Now, there are members of the Republican Party in Pennsylvania that have essentially called for proof of life. And I know it's just tomorrow will be March the 1st. Okay. And they have the Democrats have to stretch this out until August. If the Democrats can get past the August deadline, they will be able to just retire Fetterman, and the Democrat governor will just appoint a replacement. However, if John Fetterman is declared incapacitated, incapable of carrying out his duties for the office of U.S. Senator in Pennsylvania, there must be a special election held. Now, I would be willing to bet that Democrats are pushing everything out as far as they can, and then they're going to stretch everything else out as far as they can, as far as the negotiation process of seeing John and getting a mental exam and doing all this stuff. They're going to try to delay and push it past August. I mean, really, a newly sitting senator that has literally been in office less than 2 months, right? Not a good thing. Let's see. Bump, bump, bump. Debt ceiling, ESG investing. I'm just kind of looking at this stuff for tomorrow. Let's get back and see. Is there anything that I haven't covered here in my notes tonight? Let's see. Oh, here's some. Eric Swalwell out in California. He spent $583,000 in campaign funds on yachts, resorts, and limos. I wonder if he had some fang fang bang bang while he was there. All presidents avoid reporters, but Biden may achieve a record in his press avoidance. Listen, when you have handlers that essentially don't want anybody to know that you are the substitute president for Barack Obama, no, and you aren't going to let anybody near Joe Biden. Let's see. Ex FBI chief Louis Freed gave $100,000 to Biden's grandkids to their trust as he sought future work. Okay, this is just one of the small revelations from the Hunter Biden emails. Also, if you're not aware, one of the people that have so-called, maybe as a good description of flipped, one of Hunter Biden's business partners is now actively working with Republican investigators about the Hunter Biden's laptop. His business partner, what was this guy's name? Let's see it here real quick. Anyway, Eric Sherwin, business associate of Hunter Biden, is now that worked on Joe's business deals and the tax affairs, is now working with GOP investigators looking into the Biden family dealings. You know, when Hunter Biden was essentially paying his father rent in the same price that the Chinese Communist Party corporation was paying Hunter Biden, that is pretty damn suspicious. When you rent a house for 8 months and you pay more than $400,000 to your dad. Now, you have to ask yourself, who in Delaware pays $48,000 a month? Is that what it was? Something like that, maybe. It was some obnoxiously stupid number. Okay. Who in the hell pays that much for rent? Now, we only know that because that's what Hunter Biden put down on a rental form when he was going to rent another property, or I should say, rent his office that he had with the Chinese spy and others. I think that's the same office that he took some of the Russian hookers up to and was, let's just say, having a good time on the vice president's. Hey, remember that when Hunter Biden paid the Russian hooker 3 times and it looked like it didn't go through, but it went through every time. They did it literally. He did that on the vice president's personal card for the government. Now, pardon me, but paying $25,000 for Russian fucking hookers, I don't believe that's a generally allowable expense that would be expensed on, the vice president's credit card, right? And that's the other thing. Remember, if Hunter Biden had Joe Biden's vice presidential credit card, how in the how much money was Hunter Biden buying? Hey, could Hunter Biden just go get, look, I got my daddy's card, my vice presidential cocaine card. Yeah, I would imagine that if they swabbed that card when they got it back from Hunter Biden, it probably had cocaine, meth, heroin, and maybe fentanyl on it. Oh gosh. Hey guys, I'll tell you, 2 hours goes pretty fast. So thanks everybody for tuning in. And thanks, Chris and Greg and Jerry. Look, it's Jerry Olivier. Hey, Jerry, I was going to send you a message today, but I didn't. I didn't. Anyway, you have any questions, give me a call. You guys know my numbers. Anyway, thank you guys. Thank you for coming down and listening. And don't forget, tomorrow morning, the Revolution in the Morning show. It'll be right here. So come on down and join us. God bless you guys. God bless. Good day and good luck. Yeah, God bless you guys, man.